Hey guys, Pat here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And last couple days I've been working on this extra fuel tank. This is an aluminum truck tank that came off a Kenworth truck. Somebody gave it to me and well, I gave them $25 for it. And they wasn't sure if there was a hole in it or not, so cleaned the sludge out of it. There's a lot of sludge in the bottom of it. Contaminated, a little bit of contaminated fuel, so I removed that and cleaned the inside of the tank, filled it full of water, and tested the integrity to see if there's any holes in it. And there wasn't any holes. So after that, what I did is I took this old strap off of here, off of the tank, and I'll be making some wooden cradles for it to sit in. So this is going to go away. I had to use heat to remove the bolts on there. They were kind of rusted and corroded on there, so I had to use some heat to get them off. At that point, this was completely void of fuel, cleaned out, no fumes, no danger of any ignition. It did not have a cap, so my neighbor, he works in, he hauls logs for a living and has a trucking business. And he had one of these caps, bought a cap from him for $20, used one. And so then I went ahead and cleaned up the outside of the tank. There was just a little bit of pitting where the bands used to be around the tank. Still in really good shape. There's a couple little dents on it, little cosmetics. So I went ahead and sanded it down. I cleaned the tank up really well and went ahead and threw a little bit of paint at it just to preserve it a little bit better. So what I have here is I have one of two pieces of a glulam beam that came with a piece of equipment that I had acquired, and I since had removed, you know, all of this wood and everything like that off of the machine that it was attached to. It was actually an old table saw, and I thought these would make good cross cradle mechanisms, something for this tank to sit horizontally and rest in a cradle. I cut that beam in half, or cut it in two, and there was a defect on the one side. So what I did is I took a Forstner bit and just a little bit larger than the defect and drilled this out, so I made it symmetrical on each end. And in the way I made this cup here, positioned the beam approximately towards where center would be for the circumference of the tank, and enough meat down here to where there would be enough clearance for the outlet side. Obviously this is the top, but the outlet side on the other side, there's a valve here on the bottom, so whatever I have going underneath here has to have enough clearance for this outlet for the fuel. So after I centered this, and I did that by, okay, this looks like a good distance here, and then I took a straight edge or a straight stick, put it right up against the edge of the tank and then the top side of the board, and then I marked a line right here at the edge of the board. Then I went to the other side, using that line as a reference. I moved the tank one way or another in order to make this line the same on each side. So that gave me the distance between this corner and right here where the cut starts is going to be the same on each side. And then this right here, it really doesn't matter as long as I have enough material here to clear that outlet valve on the back side of the tank. So with this centered, I went ahead and traced around the circumference of the tank, and that gave me a line to go on to cut on the bandsaw. I cut the radius out here, and then I plunged these two holes in here, and so now you'll never know that there was a defect in one side or the other of these. And what I'll do is I'll duplicate all of this to that new beam. And you can see that line on there that I showed you. I've already done that. So what I did is I placed the same distance between here. So I made it even on the ends. I cut these out the same length. And then I simply traced the piece I had cut out already. So now these are going to be exactly the same. Now the other thing that I have done is I took dimensions or lengths for these holes. So that's 2 7/8 and 2 7/8 on this end. And then in is going to be 1 7/8. Now I know where to take my Forstner bit and drill this hole here. So I got this job for the bandsaw and I got this job for the Forstner bit. I already have the table set for height and the depth set. So when I had set my depth gauge just to go to the table, but to not cut clear through the material. See that just point has just made a little dimple or a little rise right there. So I know where to put the tip of the Forstner bit. Now is I'm putting, obviously the cradles are going to be positioned 34 inches apart, and then what I want to do is I want to put a hole right here for putting a hook or a clevis, so I can put a strap on here to be able to lift this. I want to put 2 holes in here actually, and the other one will be a strap just to go around the tank, so the tank can be secured to the wooden block here. So this cross piece, this is going to actually be installed for a little more rigidity, and then I'm going to have a through bolt that's going to run clear through this block, and then I'm going to secure it with a nylock bolt, and I'm going to put a washer on the back side to displace the lifting weight. This is going to be plenty to hold anything that I want to hold as far as weight wise on this tank full of fuel. So this will go on the bottom side through the ready rod, and then I'll have a bolt on the top side, and that will secure the angle iron and all of the wood. And so when you go to lift this, it's actually going to be lifting from the bottom of the block through the ready rod up through this lifting hole, and whatever apparatus, you know, I can put clevises on there or whatever, and some rope or chain or whatever device I want to use to go ahead and lift that in and move it around. So that's what we have going on. That's the plan. I had all this stuff on hand. I could probably look around and find some more clevises, but I'm just going to go pick some more up at the store. I'm always using these for various things. I might go ahead and tack weld this together to keep this all together, and then drill those 2 holes that I was telling you about. So I've got a 1/2 inch ready rod, so I need a 1/2 inch drill, and that is going to go right in the center and straight down through both of these pieces of metal and into the wood. Now it's time to locate where I want to put the through bolt through the iron, which is going to accommodate the 1/2 inch ready rod. And this is 2 1/2, so I want to go 1 1/4 in to get the center of the thicker plate here, the thicker angle iron. And I want to make sure that this bump here isn't going to interfere too much with my measurement. And it's right on. And then I also determine this is going to be 9/16 in, and that is the center of the inside of this angle iron. I'm going to put the bolt and nut right in the center so the nut can go on there easily and be centered within the center of this smaller piece or smaller angle iron. I'm going to put this size washer on the back side on the wood, and I take a punch, center it, so I have a guide for my drill bit. Again, 1 1/4. And then 9/16. Okay, I'll take a drill and I'm going to drill a pilot hole, and then I'll finish it off with a 1/2 inch bit. Now what I'll do is I'll put a little piece of wood in here, and so that will give the drill bit something to bottom out on, and it'll also give this something to somewhat level itself on. Give me something hard to go back against. So last night I left deliberating whether or not I wanted to weld these little U-clamps on, or drill holes and put shackles on there, or to put the clevis on here. And I went ahead and decided to go with a clevis. The reason for that being is I think it's going to be actually a little bit stronger, because it's going to grab both of these pieces of metal without putting any strain on the welds. I just put these tack welds on here. I could have welded all the way around the perimeter of these two pieces and made them more solid together, but I didn't think it was really necessary, because I'm going to have that through bolt that goes actually through the wooden cradle here. So I'm going to go with a couple of 1/2 inch holes, and the shackle or the clevis will be on the inside hole, and then I'm going to put a strap on the outside hole that goes around just to hold the bottom to the tank. These straps aren't anything significant, just cheap straps I got at the store. I got 2 extra, and actually kind of cheap. But that's really all I need to hold the tank and this together. So they got 500-pound load limits on there, so 1,000 pounds of working force between this side and the other side. So this should be fine. Also determined I'm going to come in 3 1/4 inches from the outside. So I've also determined I'm going to come in 3 1/4 inches in and center the 2 1/2 inch board to the radius of these corners. So I'm going to go in 3 1/4 and just grab a little line so I know where to line. So when I get this all lined up, do the same thing with the other side and the opposite side of the tank. I'll scribe lines, and then I will stand the tank back up, get these exposed, and drill holes in here. I'll drill a 1/2 inch hole here, 1/2 inch hole here, and then drill a hole through the bottom of this board. And there'll be a couple of different processes which I'll undergo and show you how I mount the board to the metal angle iron here. So in order to make this look right, I've determined I want to come in 3/4 of an inch from each end of the 2.5 inch piece of angle iron. And I want to make sure that my welds don't interfere with my measurements. I'm going to come in from the edge of the smaller angle iron, 9/16, and then again 9/16 here. Take my center punch, mark a pilot point for my first drill. Now for the importance of accuracy, it's really a good idea to make sure that you're perpendicular to your measurement. You don't want to measure this way or it's going to be too short. So you want to be a 90-degree angle on your measurement when you're measuring in, just for a little bit better level of accuracy on anything that you measure. Okay, let's go get these holes drilled. Okay, so the way that works, clevis will fit right in there like that. And I gave myself enough room to where I can get the clevis in there. And then the strap, and that's why you want to pre-fit things. The 3¼ inches is not going to work for me, so I'm going to have to come out, which is no big deal. So I'll bring that out to 2 inches. And then I'll still miss this little hole that I put in here. And that way my hook can slide in here and not interfere with the side of my tank. Now we'll center this 2.5 inches between the radiuses on the 3.5 inch wide cradle board. And now I need to find a 1/2 inch drill bit that'll penetrate the full length of this board. Okay guys, here's what the plan is. Let's say that this is the block of wood. This is the block of wood here. I plan on drilling a hole, 1/2 inch hole, through the center of that block and 2 inches in from the end. But I also have to draw a little recess hole in order to accommodate a washer and a nut. And that's going to go through the center of the post with some ready rod so it can sit flat on the ground and not interrupt the nut, the nylock that I'm going to put on there, and the flat washer that's going to go inside of the wood in order to hold the angle iron and everything together. And so obviously I got to cut the 1/2 inch ready rod to length, and when it's done it'll look something similar to that. This being the angle iron that runs across to the other support piece. It's also going to have a hole in it and a place for a nut to go. So in order to do that, I have a long 1/2 inch black oxide standard drill bit to go through that 4 inches. And then I also have a Forstner bit. It's slightly larger than the washer in order to start my hole. So I'm going to use this first, and that will get me a center to finish out the hole in a 1/2 inch size. This Forstner bit's 1 3/8 inches to accommodate the washer, and the nut to go on the bottom side of the wood. So we'll go ahead and get the drill press, everything set up so the hole goes into the wood nice and evenly. I want to use the Forstner bit first because that'll give me a pilot hole to guide this bit, the 1/2 inch bit, directly dead center. So when this hole looking at a bird's eye view, the hole's going to be like that, and then when the Forstner bit hole is dug or penetrated, it's going to leave a small the small mark right here, so I know exactly where to put my 1/2 inch bit to finish out the hole to go clear through to the other side. So then the hole is going to look something like that when the hole will be down here. I don't know if that's clear. And then the 1/2 inch hole will be dug or drilled and go clear through to the other side. So I'm going to come in here 3 1/4 to get the center of my hole for my ready rod. 1 9/16 to center of the post. I'll measure from the other side to verify that. Now we'll finish out the hole with a 1/2 inch bit. So now we're ready to cut our rebar, and we have to determine how long a piece of rebar that we need to cut. So I have all of the hardware stacked together minus the ready rod. So the ready rod has to penetrate this nut and the nut on the bottom, the washer, and all the wood, and these 2 pieces of angle iron. So with the 1/2 inch ready rod is going to be already enveloped in the bottom of the post. So I can omit any measurement in addition to what I have here, because that's going to be recessed. But I have to have this nut on the top to measure everything together, so that's going to be 6 inches of ready rod that I need to penetrate this nut, this wood, and the angle iron to hold everything together. So we got to cut the ready rod off to 6 inch length. I'll just go ahead and clean this up in case there's any burrs from cutting and cleaning on the ends. That seems pretty clean. Tighten that just past the nylock. And I'll do that with every single one of them. I'll clean up both sides. Now we'll have to remove the clevis in order to tighten that bolt and nut, or should I say ready rod and nut. I don't need a washer back here. We got plenty of metal. We have nylock nuts, so there's no real need for a washer. The other nice thing about this method is that this nut on this side with the washer and this angle iron acting as a washer, and then the nut on this side, it just brings everything together real nice. Now what I might do at some point is put like some sort of strap in here just to protect this underneath here. I got some rubber from the old mount that I may use in this, but for right now my target is just to get this done. Now my eldest son, he showed me a little trick, is to take care of these loose ends here, the extra material. Just do that. Now the tank is fastened to the base here, and I have these clevises to accommodate various different lifting apparatus. So I can use a 5/16 hook in here. And if that didn't look good to you, it didn't really look good to me. So you can remove the clevis and put a lifting strap on here, which is my preferred way of doing it. That way the strap doesn't come into abrasive contact with the side of the tank when you go to lift it. That would be my favorite way of doing it. You have two straps. You have one here, and that loops to the other side. And that way you have two straps that come around, and then you can pick it up. You can also make up some lifting apparatus with some good heavy-duty rope, one that would accommodate the weight of the tank full. So there's several different lifting options that we have. So I like the clevis idea. That way you can change your options depending on what you have for straps, rope, or chain. Chain is my last resort because it would be a little bit more abrasive on the side of the tank. So guys, in addition to everything I just showed you, I have these other straps here I like a lot better. They fit nicely in these clevises. And then I have this flexible hose here. I tied into underneath here where there's a ball valve, and I can operate this ball valve, and so I can perform maintenance on everything that I tie in after the tank. And so in addition to that, I already have a fill-right nozzle for my truck tank. That's this right here. So I can interchange the nozzle. I got a new hose and I got a new filter, so everything here is interchangeable with what I can hang off the tank here. So eventually what I want to do is I want to make a stand for this so I can take and pick this off with a machine, excavator, or backhoe, and set it on top of another stanchion that has elevation to it, and just use gravity in order to fill from tank to tank using another hose. After a filter, here's another nozzle so that I can transfer fuel from one container to another. I made this in such a way that I can set this in and out of the pickup easy and take it down to the service station and fill it up with diesel. That makes this tank a lot more versatile. I could take this tank and hook it up to a generator or another device. Thanks for stopping by. Take care and God bless.